Right, welcome to this review video. Really, it's going to be a flick through of the Warhammer the Old World rulebook. It's 352 pages, so I'm going to go at a bit of a pace here. It's an opportunity to see the structure of the book, what to expect inside, a celebration of the artwork, which is amazing for Warhammer, and also a showcase of the models as well, both old and new. So check out the review for the Bretonnian box set. You get this rulebook inside the Bretonnian box set. And also the Tomb Kings box set has a copy of this rulebook as well. So if you get those sets, then you get this huge rulebook inside. So that's a real good bonus. You get a brilliant sized army, and also the full rulebook there as well. Dice counters, templates, all included. So you open up the first page and the beautiful map across here. Really, really nice. Yeah, this is Games Workshop bringing back a gaming system so they can delve back into the artwork. High Elves against Orcs. I had a number of favourite factions. I had bought a few models that I was High Elves originally. I was very much into. I painted a few models. They're showing you the game. That's a lovely piece of terrain there. I'm going to zoom in on that. That is a really nice piece of terrain. I'll just swing that around. It's really, really nice. Stuff like that just creates the whole battlefield. So I'm just going to point that out. I just think that's really good. So you've got Bretonnians against the Tomb Kings. This is older artwork. Beautiful. Really nice. The scene of knights in shining armor crashing into a foe. Legendary artwork here. Again, looks like Games Workshop incorporating the old and the new. Just adds to it here. It's a brilliant piece of artwork. It is, and when I got into Games Workshop, I got into Warhammer. I dabbled in Warhammer. I was young at the time. I didn't really go right out into collecting an army and playing seriously, but I sort of bought units that I liked the look of and just started painting. That's how I really got into the hobby. And really, it was Warhammer 40,000 I really started collecting proper factions and so on. But it was the artwork that drew me in. Games Workshop continued that on. There's the map there, War and Ending. With a time scale, what's gone on. So more of the timeline. It's all the artwork. They're jamming all the artwork in, which is great. And I like this. It's a huge book, but they haven't tried to cram it down to 200-page book and keep the artwork away. Dedicating whole pages to artwork. Massive fan of them doing that. That's absolutely fine. Got the dwarves fighting here as well. Tomb King. Oh, Tomb Kings, I think. I always liked the regular skeletons, so like just your standard sort of undead. And if they were resculpted, you could paint an army really quick and just look amazing on the battlefield. Just the whole rusty effect on the arm and all the bones and just the look of them. I've always been a fan of skeletons since films like Jason and the Argonauts and so on. Always loved that theme for... Now that's not Bretonnians, if I'm right. It's Empire. I had Empire Men-at-Arms. I did paint a whole unit of those. And this, I remember this artwork. This artwork takes me back to my childhood here. I remember this as well. These gallant knights. This is classic fantasy here. Gallant knights charging into their foe. Yeah. And these, I remember this artwork as well. It's just the imagination. It's just fantastic. So there's loads of great fun background story to read up on. The Wood Elves. I was a massive fan of those. Used to really enjoy reading the White Dwarf magazine batch reports that featured Wood Elves. Remember them fighting away against armies like goblins and chaos dwarves as well. You'll see it in the High Elves. Always love the look of those. Imagine if these are resculpted to 2023 standards by Games Workshop. They look incredibly good. Because there's such depth and such strength to these concepts that I think the model range would surpass, would be better than Age of... I think it would be better than Age of Sigmar. There's so much that Games Workshop can draw upon, so much strength in concept already, that to enhance that further, the sculpts would be unbelievably good. Got the dwarves as well. The Green Menace, the orcs. I remember the night goblins in their black cloaks, and then I think they were called Night Goblin Fanatics. I think they swung these balls. I remember in battle reports that they moved out from their regular unit, so they had a unit of goblins, and then the Fanatics came out swinging these balls around, and then they just plow into the target's head. There's just some great themes going on with them. That's the Tomb Kings, which was a later concept brought in to Warhammer, I believe, but it's very old now. It's strange that the new has become the old. The sculpts for these are very dated, but again, the concept art for these, imagine the resculpts would look incredibly good, like an Egyptian-style, desert-themed undead army, look amazing on the board. The Lost and the Damned, you got the Forces of Chaos. But I'm guessing Games Workshop would be resculpting these and not pulling Age of Sigmar models across, I don't think. So you're looking at two lots of the same thing going on. So Chaos units for Age of Sigmar, and then standalone resculpt separate for Warhammer the Old World. I guess that's the way it's going to be. I doubt this is going to merge or much drawing across. You can use the models from Age of Sigmar and just bring them across unless you choose to do that as a hobbyist, but I don't think so officially. Wolves of the Sea, Land of Ice and Snow. Ruled by Dragons. This is interesting artwork across here. Is that Dragon Elves? No, the High Elves, but they had a kind of dragon theme going on. Remember this? I think this featured on one of the box set artwork. Night Goblins against Dwarves. Again, the theme of this is so strong. The clash of factions is really good. So on to the rules now. So you've seen artwork. And that's up to page 90, page 89, and then you're on to the game. Obviously, there'll still be some more artwork involved. Model profiles, and then just going through the rules here. I never played a game of Warhammer. I wonder if the rules have been perhaps tweaked, but they're still familiar, or whether it's an entirely new concept. Bookmark just falls into there. That's High Elves fighting away against the Goblins with their Wolf Riders. Remember that, and the square shields. Remember that. Brilliant artwork. I think it's the right move to resurrect all this with such strong backstory, strong artwork. Games Workshop can just tap into that straight away. They've got a library of stuff that they can use. And the potential just to resculpt the entire range has opened up a massive doorway for them. Going through movement. I think with this book you get a quick play reference sheet as well. And I'm just going to go through this, just showing you all the pages. We're approaching halfway here. Talk about the shooting phase. The rules are really spread out. I remember all of these little drawings with little mini battles taking place. I remember them from seeing them in the White Dwarf magazines. I really thought they were very good. Empire, it looks like, versus the Wood Elves. Dwarves here. Beautiful art. Look at this artwork across here. Fantastic. And the Dwarves, very strong heraldry of them. Wood Elves again by the looks of it. This is very old artwork across here. It's very early days stuff. Wow, look at this. I don't think I've ever seen this one before. And this is what I'm saying. Look at this artwork. Imagine these resculpted by Games Workshop. So I say Warhammer's The Old World is one to watch. There's some resculpts coming out. But when you get to a point where much of a faction's been resculpted, the armors are going to look incredibly good, and it's going to be hard to resist. here, because if the sculpts match the artwork, the level of detail in this, imagine this being represented in an up-to-date sculpt from Games Workshop. They look insanely good. You've got advanced rules across here. Again, one of these sort of mini line drawing bits of artwork. Beautiful. Very nicely done. There's the Night Goblins. It's older artwork. Across here as well. Such strong themes. More up-to-date artwork here. That's a lot of rules. If you're going to get into it, you really have. There's an example of a detachment here. That's the Dragon Cavalry I was talking about. There's the regular High Elf Spearmen. The chariots, the repeater crossbows, remember those? I didn't play, but I avidly read the battle reports. Always liked the look of it. But at that stage, I was just getting into hobbies, so I was just picking out different sculpt units I liked and just painting them up for fun. Command groups, remember this piece of artwork, love the whole idea of that. Beautiful artwork, just to taking in the such strength Games Workshop has with the artwork here. Because it's classic fantasy, you know, skeletons, orcs, knights in shining armor, elves, all the strongest of stuff. Beautiful artwork here. Love the look of this knight here with the round shield, the helmet, and taking the axe. Really, really nice. So I'm just going, this is profiles for all weapon types here, crossbows and so on. War machines covered in here as well. Cannons. Other cannons just prompted me to talk about, there was a game that I did get a hold of, and that was Battle Masters, the game of orcs and ogres. I saw that advertised on television. It was a TV advert repeatedly over building up to Christmas, and I begged and pleaded with Mum and Dad to let me get a copy of Battle Masters, which I did, and we played that game over and over and over again. It's a fantastic concept of a game. One that Games Workshop should bring back, because it was a bridge to get into the hobby. The models, it was, I think it was MB Games, maybe. It was a board game company created it, but like the models were licensed and produced by Games Workshop. It was modular movement trays, and it was hexed based battlefield. The table was about 4 foot by 4 foot or 4 foot by 5 foot, something like that. It was a standard battlefield. You had some extra hexes to create different types of things like little castles or ditches or obstacles, and they had different fixed scenarios, and you had just moved by hexes, fired by hexes, and that was such an enjoyable game. You had knights, empire on one side, and then it was orcs, goblins, and chaos on the other. And you had things like giants and crossbowmen and cavalry and cannons like this, and it was just such a fun game. You could play it within the hour. Brilliant game. So many different scenarios. We just played through the scenarios, and there's about a dozen scenarios. We just played them over and over and over again. And I would have been about 11 at the time, something like that. Brilliant game. For example, an 11-year-old, if I go back, an 11-year-old is going to struggle with this, unless they're really helped a lot. But something like Battle Masters, they can grasp it, play it, and then once you've got them playing and then loving the models, enjoying wargaming, then as they grow and they stay in the hobby, then they can move up to something like this. And so something for Games Workshop to, I think, improve and to work on is bridge games. Games which are a lot easier to play, but ones that can get you into the hobby, get you gaming, and something that a younger age group can grasp. Instead of saying, well, how are we going to teach 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds how to play 40k? Why don't you just do some kind of simpler game that they can play easily and then get into hobby? And I think that would be a good move. Battle Masters was very easy to grasp. The rule book was an A5 little black and white booklet, and like 12 pages. It had all the rules. That was it. But you can still have a really good fun game. Took about an hour. I'd still play that as an adult because it's a really good game. And so that's another strength to it, is you build it as a simpler game that youngsters can play, but adults can still enjoy playing it as well. And if you've got 1 hour, then you play something that's simpler. This is a beautiful army. This is really nicely painted. That's the Empire of Man. Really, really nice. So now we're on to a bit of a miniature showcase. There's some of the new sculpts coming in, but they are surrounded by old stuff that's 20 years old. That's the Bretonnians. The Wood Elves, which I really liked. But the sculpts that I liked, I think these are War Dancers. But all the sculpts here are all the newer ones. These are old, but they're newer. The ones when I was reading the White Dwarf magazines were even older than these. These are all more updated sculpts compared to the new one, the older ones. And I never saw units like this. Wild Riders riding stags. Never saw those. Treemen. Yeah, the War Dancers is an even older sculpt than that. You got the Wood Elf, the High Elves, sorry, which I really liked. I liked some of the dragons and things that they had. There was different options. Orcs and Goblins. It's the classic foe to fight against. Remember the Dwarves. Will we see Chaos Dwarves? I think Games Workshop got rid of them. I think they're gone. You got the Tomb Kings as well. I use this model here. I recognise him. The Necro Sphinx, I think it is. Yeah, I used him as a Thousand Suns Demon Prince. So you also got that. You've got the crossover into 40k. Some of the Warhammer models, as unofficially, you can bring them over to represent different things. You could bring over some of the Warhammer models to represent like Chaos Cultists, for example. You could do a very uniquely themed, if you're clever at sculpting, you could do a very uniquely themed Astra Militarum army with some of the elements of Warhammer in it, like taking some of the head swaps from Empire models with their feathered plumes, for example. So there's that to keep an eye on. There's the Forces of Chaos. And that's it, yeah, Chaos Dwarves, I don't see them. Huh. Battlefields, showing you movement trays and blocks. I really like it. To line up your formations and play it like a battle like this. I've always loved this concept. Showing you another example of a battlefield. Another example here of this Egyptian style sculpting going on against High Elves by the looks of it. Talking about terrain. We're on page 275. So we are well through here. Just love this. It's not grim dark, but it's that kind of similar, okay, that kind of theme. River trolls, are they? I'm trying to remember. There's the dwarves. I'm mostly looking at the artwork here. Mad crazy. So giving you some scenarios for battles, which is great. You can work your way through these. They bring back so much of the old artwork. It's great to see. I remember this artwork here, these sort of priestly fanatics. Narrative battles. There is so much in this book. Boy, oh boy. More scenarios, loads of scenarios. And this, glorious, they put this in. Beautiful. Empire fighting away against orcs. What a classic matchup here in the realms of fantasy. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Nothing to be ashamed of. It should be celebrated. Beautiful artwork. Always loved these. Yeah. I mean, how inspirational is that? I'll just tilt it up. I mean, amazing. Great, the Games Workshop. Just in the middle of the time's running out, the book's running out. Surely it's all over, and then all of a sudden you just turn the page and you see that. That's really good. And even on these pages, you're being accompanied by this kind of artwork across here, which is great. On to Battle Magic. So you're hoping is that it's not too dominant, that it's still, the main fighting units is the main focus in the game. But going by Total War, from what I've seen, watching those games being played out, and I've seen clips of them on YouTube, the magic seems to be very, very powerful. And whether that's reflected in this game, we'll have to see. I imagine it'll be tweaked, that it won't be ridiculously powerful. Games Workshop won't want to create a poor set of rules right at the start. They'll want something that's going to be fair and do well. Quick reference sheet here at the back included. And we finish off just with the index there at the back. So there it is. That's Warhammer the Old World. That's a flick through the rulebook, just to give you a flavour of what's going on inside this. I think this is a good move from Games Workshop to see Warhammer the Old World come back. It's been a long time, but there's such strength to this artwork, lore. It was a tragedy that Games Workshop dumped this, but it's good to see them making a comeback on it. It's a bold move from them, especially to relaunch with mostly old sculpts. But I think as time goes on, we'll see resculpts coming through, and this, the Warhammer the Old World. I can't see it being a flop. I cannot see that. I think it's going to go slowly, but I think it's going to go from strength to strength. As to how strong it becomes, we'll have to see, but I think it'll be strong enough. There's no doubt about that. But there it is. That's the review for the rulebook. If you want to see the contents of the Bretonnian box and the other stuff that Games Workshop sent me, you can check out the review that's already live for that on the channel. For discount Warhammer the Old World, then it's the Outposts link for them in the video description below. Keep a lookout for more reviews on the channel. Let us know what you think of Warhammer the Old World in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time.